Hello and welcome to another Gulliver vlog. This is number 7. We're going to start with something a little bit different this week. So before we show you anything else, we're going to let you have a little bit of a look at this video from the Clark Library in Los Angeles.
So the reason we showed you that amazing space is that they, in fact, are the ones who have commissioned this piece of work from us. What happened was we went to Santa Monica a few years ago with our Jane Austen adaptation, Northanger Abbey, and while we were there, a lady came to see the show and she was from the Clark Library. So we had a really lovely coffee meeting with her that resulted in them asking us to create a piece of work for them. Now, the full name of the library is the William Andrews Clark Memorial Library, and it's part of the University of Los Angeles, and they hold the largest collection of Oscar Wilde in the world. So obviously the first piece they asked us to do was an Oscar Wilde of our choice. We could do whatever we liked, and so given that we adapt novels mainly, we decided to do The Picture of Dorian Gray. So we did. And then last year, was it last? No, the year before.
I'm not sure, but we got to take it back over there and perform it in the space that you've just seen. It was fantastic, and we also got to see all of their collection of Oscar Wilde. So that included like handwritten manuscripts, printed manuscripts. We got to look at them, read them. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah, you could see notes in the margins and all that kind of thing. It was brilliant. We had a great time, and they really loved the show. So almost immediately afterwards, they asked us to create another piece of work for them. They've also got a big collection of writings by Jonathan Swift, so they asked us to do Gulliver's Travels.
So that is why we are doing it. So it's very much thanks to them. And also, on that note, it's thanks to the Arts Council who funded our research and development on this project as well. So given everything that's happened, were it not for the Arts Council, really, we wouldn't be continuing to be able to work now. So we have to say a massive thank you to the Clark Library for commissioning the work and to the Arts Council for also supporting it. So moving on to this week's activities, I started off by making a prototype, although we might actually keep him, sometimes we do that, if we like them, of a Struldbrug. A Struldbrug is an immortal being, and they're from a land called Lugnag. And Gulliver meets them, but they're quite a sad case, really, aren't they? Because although they're immortal, they don't stay ever young or anything like that. They, in fact, age and just continue to age. So we wanted to get that sense of a kind of drawn look. So I've done these sort of big curves and folds in the skin to make it look like it's sort of
world weary.
Yeah, been pulled down. It's not quite finished, obviously. You can still see fair bits of pizza box poking out, so I've got to finish papier-mâché him. They're born with a red spot on their foreheads. That's how you know that you are a Struldbrug. And so that's a sort of representation of that. Don't know how it'll look in the end, but I'm quite pleased with him so far. So that's the Struldbrug.
We also carried on looking at the horses. The last land that Gulliver visits is, he only gets called Huynham Land, I think.
Yes, it does.
Huynham Land, however you want to pronounce it. That's the name for the race of horses that live there. As we said before, we were looking at making a horse's head kind of like a three-dimensional puzzle, so with slices that go together. So we gave that a go. And this is the result of that here. We quite like it. It's quite an interesting effect.
It is interesting. The prototype looks a little bit more like a donkey. That's kind of my fault. I did the shape.
Yeah, I don't think I did a brilliant job with the ears either.
But nonetheless, it's interesting.
Yeah, the problem with it is similar to the other one that was this sort of shape, which is that it doesn't read as well from the front. Perhaps if we had more slices in there, it would help with that. We haven't dismissed it. You know, it is very interesting. It's quite nice to look at. And the other benefit, of course, is that if you take it apart, it will pack down completely flat. So that's always pretty handy.
Especially with something that's going to be as large as the horse's head.
Sure, yeah.
So we haven't dismissed that one, but we also haven't dismissed this one that we'd started on. So I have been preparing it for papier-mâchéing. So I've been filling in all of the gaps as best I can to make sure that the shape is as solid as possible before I put papier-mâché on, otherwise it'll just disintegrate. So I've been putting all these strips on, trying to keep the lovely shape that Noel had kind of created to begin with. So we're quite happy with it. I think it's a nice shape.
Yeah, I think it's a great shape and it's a good size.
So we just have to see what it's like once it gets papier-mâché on it, whether it's
see.
too heavy, whether it looks right still or not, we've no idea. So I'm going to get on with that on Monday after I've finished papier-mâchéing with Struldbrug.
And then finally, I have also been working on this little character here. In that same land of the horses, there are creatures called Yahoos. And they are... In actual fact, what Gulliver realises after being there for a while is that they're actually humans, more or less, and that the horses see him also as a Yahoo. But when he first meets them, they're almost like wild animals. So this is a very small prototype, and they're actually going to be quite a bit bigger than this. They'll probably be, up to about chest height or so. But we wanted to get that sense of a kind of animalistic movement to them, and this sort of slightly unpredictable thing. So I've used string, plaited string here. What we're actually going to use is sort of thin rope. But what I like about it is that it gives them that constant movement. You don't have to do very much to it, in fact, even when that hand is free, for them to have a sort of an animalistic little movement going on all the time, even if I'm not really doing too much to them. And because the string obviously gives them so much articulation, it's quite easy to get a really decent range of movement out of them. And what we're thinking is that if it's operated by someone holding the hand, and maybe we'll have a rod on the arm, we'll see. The puppeteer will also be able to slot their feet into the Yahoo's feet, so then they'll be able to walk them in front of them.
You'll sort of wear those feet like sandals almost, really.
Yeah,
that's the idea.
Something like that. So pretty pleased with the way that's come out. There were a few little tricks to get our heads around, like making sure that it looked as though they were leaning forward and they had that kind of hunched over shape. That was just to do with where we hung the head and the legs. And I think he probably looks too cute.
He's a bit cute, we think, yeah. I mean, it was my fault, really. I just liked to, I don't know.
He's got nice hair.
That's funny. Anyway,
so they look a little more vicious than that.
They won't look quite so cute. Yeah. Although there will be a baby, and we can make the baby Yahoo quite cute.
Very true. So, beginning of next week, I am going to get started on making a larger version of one of the Yahoos.
So that's it. That's all we've done this week. But please do tune in into next week for more horses, see what that one comes out like, and a larger Yahoo.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.